They had this new idea of circus as being something that was not about animals, but more about human achievement.
I think a lot of people in America think of circus as just elephants and vaudeville and just the images that you might think of what traditional circus was back up through the 50s.
Here come the clowns again. Say, they've changed their costumes. Lots of clowns to keep us laughing, while the three rings are being filled with beautiful...
It took a familiar thing and made it extraordinary. You know, if you could ride a horse standing on its back instead of sitting on it. And that's why the circus performs traditionally in a ring. The ring was originally designed as the minimum diameter that a horse could canter in and not lose its footing. So with a person standing in the middle, the trainer, and having the horses basically run in a circle around them, that defined this performance space. And so it grew from there. I mean, three-ring circus, da-da-da. It originally had to do with horses. That's become one of those symbols of, if you want to differentiate yourself in nouveau circus or contemporary circus or theatrical circus, you don't have a ring anymore.
I think about 20 or 30 years ago, circuses started to develop and change.
So what happened was, in the 1950s, you had this kind of end of the golden age of American circus where the big, gigantic three-ring circuses were winding down. They were starting to lose their popularity. And in the 70s, we had a movement called New Circus, where companies like Cirque du Soleil and the Pickle Family Circus and Big Apple Circus had their start. They kind of grew up in the 80s into the early 90s when they became really big. And they had this new idea of circus as being something that was not about animals, but more about human achievement. And also about telling a story theatrically. So it began to blend different art forms. It began to blend theater and dance and storytelling and music and all kinds of other things. With that change in circus artistry, also grew up circus education. I started teaching around the year 2000 in my house and in my backyard.
There were 3 people that had a lesson at a time, and there were only 2 apparatuses. So one person was practicing, one was watching, and one was doing. And there was no other things. So things changed a lot, and Shana was the only teacher.
So this building in Germantown opened in 2008 as the Philadelphia School of Circus Arts. So the disciplines we teach here at the Circus School right now are static aerials, which include trapeze, rope, aerial silks, sling, and lyra. Then we have acrobatics, that includes tumbling, handstands, and partner acrobatics. We teach juggling, unicycling, tight wire walking, parkour, aerial yoga. So many people start here with no fitness background, no artistic background, and then we also get gymnasts and dancers who have already done a lot with their bodies and want to add to their repertoire. We start at the age of 3, and our oldest students are in their mid-70s right now.
My name is Alice Dustin. I'm 74, I'll be 75 in June. And I do everything here. I do aerials, I do silks and trapeze, and I do acrobatics, and I've done doubles trapeze, and juggling, and unicycle, and everything.
our adult program classes are not really super fitness oriented. It's funny, this is one of the circus schools that I've worked at that kind of has, usually circus draws in like these CrossFit, super fitness, like body obsessed people who love their bodies already and just want to like learn this cool, crazy circus stuff. And both in our kid and adult programs, we have large communities of people who are here because they never found any other physical outlet that worked for them, right? So circus is their haven and their safety, and they don't like going to the gym and they don't like playing sports, and they've never found their tribe, and this is it. And they're not necessarily the fittest people in the world, right? And they're not even necessarily here for fitness, although that is kind of the byproduct for them.
This is so much different than working out at the gym because it's a total body workout every time, but I feel like, for me anyway, I always want an end goal. Like if I were in math class, I'm like, what am I gonna use this for ever? So when I'm here, I know I'm building strength, but I'm also learning new moves and I'm learning new sequences, and just like I was able to perform at Festival because I had these sequences in my brain from training.
In the past year and a half, I've really noticed myself becoming stronger. I can actually do pull-ups, which I could not do before. In my everyday life, I'm a pastry chef, so I lift a lot of heavy things, 50-pound bags of flour up and down steps, and now I can do it with ease. I don't need help. It's really exciting, and friends of mine have noticed, like, oh, your arms look more toned. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm working on it, but not really, because it doesn't feel like you're working out. It feels like you're learning something and you're having fun while doing it.
You learn a lot of body awareness because it's not just a workout. You have to know where you are spatially because you're spinning around, you're climbing, you're going upside down. So you get to learn a lot about yourself and how to maneuver when you're not quite strong enough. But then it feels really good when, like a week or two later, you're like, oh, this feels so much better than the last time I did it or the first time I did it.
I haven't quite adjusted to my age yet, but I think I'm going to have to adjust to it, and it's really hard on my shoulders and my grip. So climbing is probably going to be the first to go. I still love the challenge, the physical challenge, so don't want to give that up, but I'm going to have to give up something.
So without the circus, we wouldn't be together. He was performing and I was in the audience, and he threw his hat into the audience and I caught it on my head.
And it's supposed to fail. I throw my hat, doesn't work, and I see you, and I threw my hat. She not only catches it, she catches it on her head. And then, to make it a perfect moment,
I throw it back perfectly and it lands on his head. So that's how we met. So without the circus, we wouldn't be together.
I got into circus kind of through juggling. I saw a street show and I was like fascinated, wow, that looks like fun. I was 13, was introduced then to the give and take jugglers, and practicing with these guys, I discovered the Philadelphia Jugglers Club, and all of a sudden there's this community of people that juggled. Greg Kennedy was one of the jugglers.
Some of the tricks are really difficult, but not impressive.
Well, in a lot of ways, you view juggling as throwing a ball 2 foot up in the air and it comes down. Juggling uses a lot of physics and a lot of geometry to kind of create different ways of objects reacting with each other. I roll and bounce objects on different structures I create, and a lot of that is math.
Or an egg in a bowling ball. I mean, everybody knows what they are, but if I juggle them together.
And the audience might not even comprehend how hard it is, but you have to throw each object with a different amount of force.
We'll talk about the physics of that, but in essence, every single individual throw has to be tailored.
So I was talking to someone about this in 2013, a wonderful man who wrote a book called The Ordinary Acrobat, Duncan Wall. And I said, yeah, well, we'll eventually have that. We'll eventually have a school for professional circus artists here in the US. And he said, well, what are you waiting for?
There's a lot of circus programs around the world that are recreational, but not too many that really target creating professional circus artists. Shane and I, through our careers, have learned a lot of things, sometimes the hard way, that would help an up-and-coming circus artist along their career path, and that's really what Circadium is about. And we want to bring that right here to America and to Philadelphia, where there's no other program like that.
Circadium is scheduled to open in fall 2017, and we are accepting applicants not only from circus disciplines, but also from other areas. So we have gymnasts and actors and dancers and all kinds of other physical practitioners who are applying for the school to be accepted for the first class. We'll have a class of 15 to 20 students in the first year, and it'll be a 3-year program where they graduate 3 years later with a diploma in circus arts.
To me, the most exciting place in circus right now are the hybrids. There are these incredible circus, burlesque, musical theater dinner cabarets that are popping up around the world. But then the reason I evoked the dinner theater part is because then there's this additional interactive participatory layer that's happening where the audience isn't just this separate entity anymore, where what's happening can happen, you know, where you have to move in order to interact. There's forms of that taking place where the audience is physically moving from room to room. And I honestly think that's just the beginning. You know, the conversation in the circus community is always about that, exploring possibilities. How can I take this to an extreme? How can I make this more? How can I push that boundary?
In 10 years, I expect circus arts to be in an amazingly new place in this country. I think that we will have dozens of new circus companies of creative artists making interesting work. I think that we'll have several circus schools who are teaching students at a professional level. And the recreational schools will also be growing. We have 200 of them right now in the US, and I expect there'll be maybe 300 by that time.
Circus arts is heading to a place in America where it's no longer going to be on the fringe where you're just going out to see a series of impressive events. It's going to be tied to a story, it's going to be tied to a theme, and it's going to be happening in places where you see ballet, where you see theater. It's going to grow and grow and grow.
I mean, so much of the circus is a celebration of what we're capable of, to inspire possibility. I mean, what kid doesn't, and what adult doesn't walk out of the circus just feeling like, you know, possibilities have expanded. Yeah, the world is a more magical place because of what we just witnessed. This is possible. Wow.
To become a circus artist, you really have a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a little bit of luck, but mostly you just have to love what you do and want to do it every day.